What's up, everybody? Well, I got another gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're gonna finish up Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 4K. So, we are all ready to go. We've got our board with the laptop, just got the controller hooked up. Didn't really see the need to get the mouse down there just to launch the game and whatnot and move around. But anyway, let's hop in and have a look at some settings and benchmarks, and then gameplay.
Well, alright guys, let's get some 4K in here. So, first we'll look at display settings like we usually do. So, we are at 4K and full screen and all that good stuff. We don't have Fidelity FX on or anything like that. I'm leaving that alone for now, though you could probably turn off SMAA 2x if this is 4K and get some extra performance. So as per usual, we're going to start off on the lowest settings we can and just move our way up. So let's just have a very quick look here at these lowest settings. Really, there's not a whole lot on, is there? A lot of shit is just turned off. But at least you get lens flares and screen effects still. But alright, let's run a bench. Well, alright, the benchmark for lowest is all finished here. So right there, as you can tell, we are on the lowest. Here's the frames rendered. We average 98, so at least on lowest, we're averaging over 60. Here's a bunch more info right here. CPU frame times right here. And then you got your CPU and GPU in milliseconds right there. Sorry, I'm going a little slower here. I'm using the touchpad on my laptop instead of a mouse, so it's not as easy. And then after that, we got the rest of our little FPS info right there. So now, let's move into the game. Well, let's start off with our lowest gameplay here. Now, I know I'm supposed to go down there. I realized that at the end of my whatchamacallit, ray tracing at the end of ultra wide, but then I started thinking to myself, if I go down there, it's going to be all like caves and tunnels, and that's going to be horrible for 4K testing and ray trace testing, or any kind of testing, really. You don't want to be in a tunnel. I learned that from Watch Dogs Legion. I had to completely redo the 1080p since I did all of the 1080p just in a tunnel. We're doing the same thing over and over again, so instead of going down there, we're just going to run around this area. I know it's going to be a little boring, but I feel like that's still better than going down into the freaking tunnels and getting horrible footage. Or me just going down in the tunnel. I was thinking about just going down there and thinking, oh, well, I'll just get some footage afterwards. But half the time I do that, it's like, okay, well, an hour or two later. And I didn't want that to happen either, so this was my solution that I came up with. Hopefully it's acceptable. And hey, I'm glad I came back. There's a bunch more shit to pick up that I missed. I didn't even know about that. Oh, I can't jump up there? What the fuck? But I want to jump up there. Assholes. They don't let me jump on shit all the time. Oh well, that's okay. There has to be some bounds and limits to some games, so let's move on.
Well, alright guys. Starting off on lowest here at 4K. And I was about to go down when I realized, going down to a cave isn't going to be great for testing out FPS at 4K, and it might make it look, oh, it's not so bad. And then all of a sudden you get out into something like this, and it's like, okay, well, this is shit. So I figured, well, why not just stick around here? It'll be kind of boring, but we already went through a bunch of the game already anyway. Plus, I still have to get some footage with the Steam Deck. So I definitely don't want to get all of that footage in there either, or same thing. It'll make me the Steam Deck look like I can get way better FPS than it really can. Then you get outside in the real world, it's like, oh shit, we can't even barely hit 30. What the fuck? This thing sucks. You know, just as an example. Now I've got myself lost. Where the fuck do I go? Alright, I think I go in here. I was just checking for more loot. Actually, no, this is the wrong way. But at least I'm getting more reports. Alright, so now I've got another skill point too. So let's see, look at that. Coming back and backtracking paid off in the end. So actually, since we're already at like 1 something, why don't we go back to the little campfire.
Trinity's ready on edge.
There we go. That's what I thought. It always say auto saves when you do that. So now let's move on.
Okay, time for low settings now. So why don't we just very slowly cruise through here, even though we're not going that slow. Don't know why I even said that. We're actually cruising through them quite quickly, I might say. So now, benchmark. Well, the benchmark for low right here just got finished. There's the frames rendered right there. We averaged 82 FPS this time, so we're still over our 60 that I like to get. Still not going to look great at 4K and all that, but still. And then, of course, we got our CPU frame times right here. Again, I'm using a laptop touchpad, so I'm not going to be able to go through these quite as quick, so this section might be a little longer than it was on some of the others, so please just bear with me. Hell, on the Steam Deck, I won't be able to do any of this at all because I won't have a mouse. Anyway, let's get into the game. Alright, now for some low gameplay, and we're just going to do the same thing we were doing on lowest. We're just going to run around in this kind of foresty area. It seems like a pretty good place to test for FPS and whatnot. Because I know, like I was saying before, if I go down into that, what do you call it, elevator, it's just going to screw me over, probably. And then it's going to be hours of me being underground. And lots of cutscenes and all that stuff, and that's not what I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys how the game runs, so we're just going to run out here and chill. Don't even know why I bothered picking this stuff up, because I don't think this kind of stuff saves. I mean, if that saved and I can just quit and just keep coming and picking up trees and stuff, hell, I'll never ever buy anything from Merchant again. I'll just find a place where I can farm it and just keep quitting out of the game. So I doubt that works. Yep, I absolutely decimated a bunch of people here. I don't think they got a single shot off on me. I stabbed one, shot one in the head with an arrow, and then I think I shot this one too. Alright. We've reached where we're supposed to go. So far, we still stayed over 60 the whole time. But we are just on low after all, so I was hoping that would happen. But we dropped down to 66, so medium will probably take us under 60 even. But hell, speaking of medium, let's go to jump to that just now.
Well, now we are on low. Getting a little camera gameplay in now, and we're already dropping down into the 60s already even now on low. So that's not looking good. I wonder if we'll even be able to do medium without dropping under 60. I was hoping for at least high. I knew it wasn't going to be able to do highest in ray tracing, but I was hoping for at least high. Oh well, I guess I don't know for a fact it's going to drop under it yet, but... Oh, well, hello, Miston. Go all the way back to this lake. But yeah, like I was saying before, this probably isn't the most interesting, but I don't think going down into a cave is going to be good either, because then I'm going to get in the same situation I did back in some of my other games, where people made a good point. Running around over and over again in a cave is not good for showing what the laptop can do. So not letting that happen again if I can help it. So now, let's move on to the next graphics setting.
Well, now it is time to move on to medium. So let's have a quick look at the medium settings, shall we? Alright, I think that's more than good enough. Let's run that benchmark. Medium is all finished now. So we got barely over 10,000 frames rendered this time, and we averaged 64, so yeah, I don't think we're gonna achieve over 60 all the time, but it'll hopefully just barely drop. Here's our CPU frame times right here. And then our CPU and GPU frame times right here. And then some more FPS info right here. So now, let's move into the game. So, let us now get ourselves a little bit of some medium gameplay now. So, let's just run around again. We're already at 58, 59, so... Still, though, would I have noticed that without this frame thin window? Probably not. Not with a controller, anyway. Probably with a mouse and keyboard. I feel like that's probably why I don't mind playing games at under 60 as much with a controller on the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck's basically a big corporate screen in the middle of it, let's be honest. And then I'm playing this with a controller, and I kind of just realized that it's not as bad. But with the keyboard and mouse, it feels absolutely atrocious. In fact, even 60 is a little low to me nowadays. I'm used to more like close to 120, 160, 144, shit like that. But then you're never usually going to get a game like this maxed out even with a 3090 at these kind of frames, because then you're going to be at 4K, and 4K is hard to run. That's why 1440p is so sought after. It's kind of a great medium. You get great graphics, and you get good looking, and you get good frame rate. Anyway, why don't we move on now?
Well, now we've got some medium 4K gameplay in, and we are basically always under 60, it seems. It drops all the way down to the low 50s. But so far, I don't think I've seen it drop below 50, although every time I say something like that, like 2 milliseconds later, it does. But I don't think it drops into the 40s on medium. And you know what? I think I found out why I don't think I mind lower under 60 as bad when I'm using it. I think it's because of the controller. I'm using a controller right now. When I'm using keyboard and mouse, it's way easier to notice like input lag and not good controls. But with controller, it's just a lot easier to just ignore that. Same thing with the Steam Deck. It's all controller. I never use the little mouse pad things. At least I haven't yet. Doesn't mean I never will, but so far I haven't really found a use for them in games yet. But I've mostly just done stuff, Elden Ring and Forza now, and Batman. Those are the only games I've really been playing like a bunch on the Steam Deck. Oh, Misty's coming back to visit. Why, hello, Misty. And alright, with that, I think we can move on to the next graphics setting.
Time now for some high gameplay. So let's just cruise on through. Well, there we go. So now we can do a bench. All right, high benchmarks all finished running now. As you can see right there, we are on high. There's our frame was rendered. It still said we get 62, so we lost 2 FPS average, apparently. More info right there. Here's our CPU frame times right there. And our CPU and GPU right there. I'm trying to get through these a little quicker. Getting a little more used to the touchpad. And then there you go. Rest of the frame or FPS info right there. So now let's jump into that game. Well, here we go with some high gameplay now. So let's just run around again. And as you can see, we are dropping under 60, but not by a huge amount. Man, this is a very impressive laptop. I'm surprised we're getting this close to 60 on a game even like this. I know this game isn't super new anymore, but... Alright, we're dropping it in the high 40s. But it still doesn't look or feel that bad, to be honest. I only know that because I looked up at the thing. I was like, oh, that's a little lower than I was expecting. Alright, we're back where I'm supposed to be, but we're of course not going to just go in the hole now. That would be silly. Yeah, I'm sure it'd be more interesting, but it'd be terrible for our testing purposes. Alright, let's move on.
Alright guys, we're on high now. We're dropping down into the 40s now. I think I saw 48 at one point. Figure we'll just run around, get ourselves a teensy bit of footage here. So far though, this is still completely playable. I wouldn't go sitting here going, oh man, I can't play. I still wished it would always stay above 60, but like I said before, using a controller, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal when it drops below. I wonder if it only dropped down to 48 because I was recording. Climb on through this window. Oh, nope, there's 49, 48. Nope, okay. So nope, it's just because it's tough to run. But alright, why don't we go ahead and move on?
Moving right along to the highest settings that are not really highest. But that's okay, I'll forgive them anyway. Let's look over them anyhow, and then after this, we'll go max the game completely out and turn some ray trace shadows on and whatnot. And there we go. Let's go run that benchmark. Well, alright guys, the highest benchmark is all finished, as you can see right there, highest. So much highest. And there we go, we got our frames rendered, and we went all the way down to 50. That's a huge drop. Here's our CPU frame times right there. Got a brain fart right there. Then we got our CPU and GPU frame times right there. And then the rest of our FPS info right there. So now, into the game we go. And here we go with some highest gameplay, and we are quite a bit under 60. We're already down in the low 40s. Yet, still doesn't feel that awful. Definitely, I would prefer 60. Just figured out to move around a bunch just to see what it felt like at 40, but yeah, no, that doesn't feel awful. It's bad, but not unplayable. Now, once we get to the ray tracing part, that's probably going to be horrible and unplayable. After you see what that looks like, you're going to be like, oh man, I'd play on highest all day long over maxed out with ray tracing at 4K. But that won't be too long. We're going to look at that very shortly. I tried to keep these a little shorter because since we're not actually going to the game. When I actually play through the games, it's easy to just let the timer go a little over a minute or two. But I'm trying to be a little more stickler for a time this time because I'm just running around being kind of boring, so I don't want to make the video any longer than it needs to be, you know? I found a bottle. Can we throw the bottle at something? I want to throw the bottle. Nope, that's not how I throw a bottle. How the fuck do I throw the bottle? I want to throw the fucking bottle. Yeah! Throw the bottle. Alright, we're good. I don't know why, I just really want to throw that bottle. But not on fire. Don't know why. Didn't want to light it on fire. Anyway, let's move on.
Alright. Now we got ourselves some highest camera recorded gameplay here. And man, we're not getting anywhere close to 60 anymore, but at least we haven't dropped under 30. So that's at least good. That's where even with a controller it starts getting a little unfun, to say the least. Alright, we've made it to our little pond with all of our fish swimming around. So let's just run around a little bit more, and then we'll go try ray tracing, which is going to be awful at 4K. But we're going to do it anyway, because we're being thorough. And then, I'll probably move on and make a Steam Deck video about this. That way I could just move on with the game. Although, I'm still not going to play this one yet. If I recall, this is the third iteration. I could be wrong. I really don't know what the order actually is anymore. I'm pretty sure Tomb Raider came out first, and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider after that. Because I always figured Rise, and then you have the shadow of him from Rising, but I don't know. That could be totally BS. That's always just been what I've thought. And I could just look it up right now, but what would be the fun of that? But, anyway, time for us to go turn ray tracing on.
And last up, we've got the game completely maxed out with ray traced shadows on Ultra. So I feel like the jungle will be a great spot to test this out instead of going into a dark tunnel where there's not going to be that many shadows really. So let's just reach the bottom of all these settings here. And there we are. Now let's go run that benchmark. Well, benchmark took quite a while to get done, but this is the game maxed out. That's why it's got custom up there. We only got 3,960 frames rendered this time, and we only got 26, which is going to be way worse in the actual game, I assure you. And here is our CPU frame times right here. And then CPU and GPU combined frame times here. And then we got some more various FPS info right there. So now let's hop into the game and see how horrible this is. Here we go, with some ray traced shadows and everything else being maxed. As you can tell, this is quite a bit unplayable. Would you like to play like this? I sure wouldn't. Hell, even the recording software didn't know what to do. I assure you, it didn't actually do this in the actual game, but it's still awful, don't get me wrong. There's no doubt about it, but it wasn't quite as bad as the screen recording is letting on. That's why I'm also glad that I do screen or camera recording as well. You'll see it getting still 15 FPS, but you'll see that it's not quite that bad. Yeah, the game just doesn't know what to do with it. It's such bad FPS. But at least the freaking recording software didn't crash on me a bunch of times and whatnot, so I should at least be thankful for that. Half the time when it does this, it just like goes, failed to record, sorry, failed to record, and then I get all pissed off because that'll be the last bit of footage I need. I don't want to just skip that and skip right to camera, but half the time it forces me to, so it is what it is. I just deal with it. All I can do is try my best, and I can only do what I can do. I cannot undo things that it does, like corrupting stuff or just not working. Anyway, though, that's about all this I can take, so let's move on.
Last up here, we got some maxed out game with ray tracing, or ray trace shadows to be specific. And we're getting a whopping 13 to 14 FPS at times, so completely unplayable as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anybody alive that would have fun playing this like this. It was much better just without the game. Hell, you probably max the game out, just don't turn ray tracing on. It would probably still stay above 30 FPS the whole time. But this is just terrible. Well, it's pretty funny, the CPU is just sitting there twiddling its thumbs at like 8 to 10%. While that GPU is like, oh my god, what are you doing to me? At least that's what I imagine is going on in there. But alright, I can't take this anymore. This is absolutely terrible, so why don't we go ahead and wrap this up. Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And it played good, even at 4K. It just dropped under 60 basically right when we got to medium, but what are you gonna do? 4K is tough. And then ray tracing in 4K? Ha! Forget about it. That was unplayable. But anyway, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now I've got to go do a little Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the Steam Deck. So, peace out guys.